Somewhere between Kimpton's wild 60s architectural excesses and Workman's staple-as-you-go utilitarianism was Lakeview High School, the final two, in Stowe's clearly improvised 222 higher education plan. When Workman ceased to be workable as Stowe's sole 9 to 12th grade high school, Lakeview became the new high school, thoughtfully located a quarter of a mile away from the existing one. There are those who still recall the day when the first class scheduled to graduate from Lakeview made its historic trek from Workman to the Lakeview campus. As the school yearbook would document, these pioneers weren't about to let a construction fence get in the way of educational progress. No, sir. Some of us Workmanites first experienced Lakeview as members of the marching band. Those freshmen and sophomore students would get off the buses at Lakeview and assemble on the practice field, while the rest of us rode an additional quarter of a mile to Workman. Following band practice, there would be a parade of young band members walking to the Workman campus, while others made their way up to Lakeview for driver's education classes. That walk between Lakeview and Workman could either be a welcome break from the Skinner box or an object lesson on why others leave any Ohio in droves during winter months. Since the class times did not always take into account the commute between campuses, most of us developed a walking pace somewhere between deliberate and alarmingly laser-focused. Lakeview also featured a parking lot for both students and faculty, a situation which naturally cried out for a sense of law and order. The responsibilities of this position fell on one man and one man only, and that man had a name, One Bullet Barney, aka Rent-A-Cop. Barney indeed took his job very seriously, even if the driving student population did not. Getting past the Rent-A-Cop was the first step in a multi-step plan to get to McDonald's and back during the lunch period. The final step was getting back on campus, while Barney was distracted by other student drivers working on step 1. Getting a citation from Barney usually carried about as much weight as getting an overdue book notice from the mole lady at Workman, but few Stowebillies wanted to stay on his bad side for very long. He had a long memory and a few friends still on the force. Although the parking lot situation could be troubling at times, it paled in comparison to the vandalism magnet we euphemistically called the courtyard. The courtyard's centralized location and restricted access seriously harshed its buzz as a functional space, but it still served a purpose for senior classes during the last weeks of school. The aforementioned McDonald's restaurant had one thing every senior class hoped to capture, but only a handful ever did. Once every few years, a clearly disgruntled maintenance staff would have to fish a large fiberglass horse out of the courtyard, the same statue usually found in front of the golden arches of Stowe. Sometimes a few crudities would be painted with bleach on the vulnerable courtyard grass, while at other times very large items would be dismantled and reassembled in the courtyard's confined space. If it was large and missing within 5 miles of Stowe, especially during late May, searching in Lakeview's courtyard would not have been a bad idea. Much like Kimpton's bucket of French fries or Workman's revered peanut butter bars, Lakeview's cafeteria had one feature that kept the faithful coming back for more. The standard lunch was generally satisfying, but for only an additional quarter students could stand in line for what was promoted as a chocolate milkshake. In retrospect, the fact that the milkshake mix was provided by the Spoil Sports at the USDA should have been a clue. It may not have been on a par with Friendly's or Stoddard's, but at least it was cold and creamy. Chocolatey, however, it was not. Nevertheless, many of us with 2 bits burning a hole in our pockets would dutifully stand in line all lunch period for a shot at natural dairy product goodness. The milkshake line also featured a few other snack items generally not found on the standard lunch menu, such as potato chips and candy bars. It was an alternative nation, a wink and a nod to nutritional mutiny in a lunchroom dedicated to the vagaries of the subsidized lunch program.